herding cats.
Herding cats.
Thank you, Dean. It is true that most of us don't think of ourselves as being leaders, let alone having leadership styles. But the reality is all of us do lead something. Some of us lead fairly large, complex organizations, like Brian, for example, is the fire chief. I guess I would say after reading this material, I would say I was a leader because I spent 26 years teaching high school kids. But leadership is a weird thing. The more I thought about it, the less clear it became to me what it really is. I think all of us have experienced being in some kind of an organization or a job or whatever, where you do have a good leader. I mean, you just know it. It's one of those things you know it when you see it. And probably most of us have had the misfortune of being in some organization that had poor leadership, and you know it when you see it. But have you ever thought about trying to explain exactly what makes a good leader or a poor leader? And the more I thought about it, the stranger it seemed to me. The good news is this little project has a lot of really excellent material in it about understanding your own personal leadership style. It also has a lot of good information about how to apply your leadership style and how to fill in the gaps if you happen to be in a situation where your style is not really appropriate to whatever the circumstance is. The project started off with a kind of a quiz or a survey. All of us have taken those things where you answer a bunch of questions and then there's a little scoring guide that tells you what sort of personality you have or what you'd be good at or something like that. Most of us know that those things are generally nonsense. If you think a little bit about the questions, you can figure out how to make yourself seem like the child that Mother Teresa and Einstein would have had. But I found the survey in this project to be really good. It's lengthy, it's 48 questions, and it gives circumstances, and then it asks you, what would you do, which is the thing you'd be most likely to do if this happened. Then there's a scoring guide and a list of 8 different leadership styles. I'm going to briefly mention what these are before I reveal the secret of what kind of a leader I am. First style is a bureaucratic leader. That's somebody who's very authoritative, bound by rules, doesn't tolerate any deviation from the decision. That's different from what they call the authoritative leader, though. They mean authoritative in the sense of knowledgeable. Somebody who provides long-term direction and has a lot more experience than the people who are being led. There's what they call the innovative leader. This is a leader who shares a vision of the future and pursues excellence and encourages innovative ideas from the people that he or she is leading. The pace-setting leader. Leader expects those he leads to embrace new projects and move with speed, and the focus is on productivity. There's also the democratic leader, the leader who's interested in having consensus about every decision and is comfortable with allowing other people to sometimes take over the leadership role. The affiliative leader. Leader's objective is to create a cohesive unit by emphasizing teamwork and harmony. In fact, the teamwork and the harmony are more important than the end product that's being worked on for that kind of leader. The coaching leader, the leader who concentrates on preparing individuals for the future by building skills, works with groups who have not yet realized their full potential. And finally, the altruistic leader, the leader who personalizes approaches to meet the individual needs and desires of the team. Once again, meeting those needs is more important than the actual project being worked on or the function that the group has. Now, you might think that as a former teacher, coaching would have been the one that came up for me. It did not. That was the 7th of the 8 possibilities for me. I ended up with a 3-way tie between the authoritative, the innovative, and the pace-setting leader. And I first thought, well, those things contradict one another to an extent, but I don't think so, the more I thought about it. Authoritative leaders provide long-term direction, focus on end goals, have a lot more experience usually than the people they're leading. They also share a vision of the future and pursue excellence and encourage innovative ideas from the people they're leading. And finally, they expect those they lead, in the pace-setting part, they expect those they lead to embrace new projects and move with speed towards some end goal. The more I thought about that, the more I thought, that more or less describes the way I worked as a school teacher. But what I'd like to talk about is something a little bit different. In 1996, I was sort of invited to leave the classroom and move to the school district central office to fill a new position called Curriculum Alignment Specialist. What had happened was the year before, the state of Washington had adopted a new system of education goals. And we had to figure out how to convert the curriculum design we had to align it with those goals. And our superintendent asked me to do it. When I asked him why, he said, well, you're really good at synthesizing information, sometimes incomplete information, into some kind of cohesive form and convincing other people of what it means. And I took him to be saying that I'm a BSer. I took it as a compliment. It's what I do. It's how I made my living. But anyway, what it involved was gathering together groups of teachers, like at the grade levels, and having them figure out how the curriculum they were using fit into these state level goals. The state goals were aligned so that they were measured at the ends of grades 4, 7, and 10. And we had to divide up everything like grade K and 1 and 2 and 3 and so on. That was tricky because, generally speaking, up till that point, teachers believed that once they shut their door of their classroom, they were the emperor or empress of a little tiny kingdom. And as long as there wasn't any open flame or screaming or blood, they could do whatever they felt like. And it was very difficult for lots of people to understand that, no, you can't do that because there have to be end goals, recognizable end goals. I was working primarily with elementary school teachers, something I know zero about. I had not spent 1 minute teaching elementary school. Turns out that's a different kind of cat that takes a special kind of herding. And it was really an interesting process. And as I thought about this project and these leadership styles, I realized that that's how I did it. I mean, those people sitting there knew that I didn't know anything whatever about their particular form of teaching. But I did have a really good understanding, or at least I made them think I had a really good understanding of the state processes that we had to align with. So my bottom line is that this is really an excellent project. I think all of you are going to enjoy doing it. It has real world applications because you probably have not thought a lot about your leadership style in a formal manner. That's what the point of this project is.
Thank you, Lloyd. Great speech. And it was interesting that you had a tie among 3 of those characteristics. And I've always thought all of those were good. I always